Got it.
Well, Brett Kissel, it's so good to see you. It's been a really long time since we last talked, and you were definitely by far one of my favorite interviews because you're a chatter. You like to chat. So
Yeah,
do I.
yeah. Well, I certainly do. I mean, and my wife Cecilia, she knows that better than anybody because sometimes I'll be like, "Hey, don't worry, I'll be home by 5 for dinner." But the reality is that I just am so chatty that if I see somebody, it could be a long lost friend, it could be a grandma or a grandpa or a baba or a Guido in the grocery store, and yes, I am a chatter. So I hope you've got a little bit of extra time because I love reconnecting with you,
You,
Morgan. Thank you for
yes,
having me on the air.
yes, yes. You actually sent me one of probably the highlight of my career, Brett. You sent me one of the best emails I ever received from a country artist after these, Zoom pandemic. This is our lives now. Yeah. And you just said, "Hey, I do these all the time. And I just really enjoyed yours." And I thought, well, you know what? That's nice to hear. So thank you.
Well, and I mean, thank you for saying that, but that is reality. I mean, when we spoke, when my album was coming out called What is Life, and that was back in 2021, I just remember being in a very busy media day, very similar to what I'm doing today. But it's really great to have a real conversation and also reconnect with a part of the country in Windsor that has been so good to me over the years. I remember meeting Cordell for the first time at Windsor's Country like 10 years ago. So it's pretty
Mhm.
wild that I still have a career here 10 years later. But there's a lot to celebrate. And you, Morgan, I think are so good at what you do. And the country market in Windsor, and everybody who listens, if you're even on the Detroit side, or if you're all the way out in Essex County or all the way closer to London, very, very lucky that you are playing so many great Canadian artists. And you're so good at what you do, Morgan. I stand by it. I stand by it. I really do.
Cordell, you're listening, right? We
Yes.
embrace our Canadian country artists, and I can't believe you're 32. You're celebrating a decade of success with the Compass Project. It's 4 albums. We'll get to that in just a second, but I wanted to, because I was looking at your Instagram earlier. Can I say your penmanship, sir? You don't see that anymore.
Oh,
So you wrote
thank you.
a letter. My God, your curse, like your children will never, that's code now. You and your wife can just send each other messages this way, and your kids will have no idea what you're talking about. Look at how nice your handwriting is.
You know what? I love to handwrite. I think it's a lost art. I
I was gonna
love
say
love
that.
love cursive writing. I'm only 32, but I feel like sometimes I'm an old geezer because I'm disappointed that some of those things, those traditional things, aren't really being taught in school anymore. But I understand it's this generation. Everybody's typing, but my kids have found a real interest in handwriting, and they want to be fancy, just like me. They call that fancy writing, and it's pretty fancy. My mom and my dad both had beautiful penmanship. My Mima, oh my gosh, is it ever beautiful? It's very pointy, but it's absolutely perfect. But I learned how to write like my Mima. I learned how to write like my mom, my dad, my grandpa, and you have to sign your homework and your agenda after school every day that your family would check to make sure your homework was done. And I would just rotate from my grandparents to my dad and my mom until at parent teacher interviews, my teacher complimented my mom on her handwriting in the agenda. And my mom's like, "I haven't signed Brett's agenda." And they show the agenda, and my mom's like, "Oh my God, you're grade 7 and you have a handwriting identical to mine." So it was half a compliment. And then I was grounded for like a month
For
because I
sure.
was failing a couple classes, but I was still signing my mom's autograph in the agenda.
That's wild. And you know what's funny is that my children call my like the grandparents, the grandma's Mima. That's like the first time I've ever heard anybody say that. Is that like an Albertan thing or something? I don't
You,
like I have no idea. They just made it up when they were babies, you know?
I don't really know where it comes from other than I've heard it a lot in the South. Like a lot of my friends who live in Nashville or Texas, like their grandpa's Pawpaw and Meemaw. But in our family, I just know that it was essentially like invented for us from my cousin Brad. When he was born in 1980, he was the first grandchild, and he couldn't say grandma or whatever. He just started saying Meemaw, and it stuck for my grandma Irene, who just turned 81 right before Christmas. And boy, did we ever celebrate! I'll tell you what we did, Morgan. for Mima, she just wanted everybody to come over. And so all of the grandkids and the great grandkids were there. She has 8 grandchildren and 10 great grandchildren. So we were all there and we played what's called boozy bingo. So if you were a kid, you got it and bingoed, you got something. We did it in the farmhouse. You won something from the dollar store, like could be a pen or a notepad or something. Whereas if you're an adult, you won a Mickey. And my Mima went to the liquor store and she bought one of every flavor that there ever was. And so we called it Boozy Bingo for her 81st birthday. It was something we'll never forget.
Well, I'll have to write that down for my next party. I love that. Oh, I love that. Mima, same thing. I think it was they couldn't pronounce grandma, and that's how it came to be. But speaking of time passing and nostalgia, I mean, the Compass Project. I love the cover art, by the way. It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what each one is going to look like because it's just so, it's a painting. It's so beautiful. So this is wild. It's like 4 pieces of your heart, Brett. I mean, that's you. I mean, you are you, but we like to put it in music, in a music form and different albums. How many songs is it in total, by the way?
I think it's 44 songs that'll come out this year. So 11 songs per record. And I really appreciate what you said about the artwork. One of my best friends is Ben Dartnell. He's been my photographer and videographer for a long time. And so I just wanted this collage of little hidden Taylor Swift style Easter eggs of what this album is going to be like. So songs about love, songs about family. So you have the family there. One of my spirit animal is a hawk. So I just said, hey, I just want a hawk in there some way, somehow. This is an ode to Nashville. So we have a Canadian and an American flag. I did a cover of Cadillac Ranch. So because of that, there's a Cadillac, but it's definitely a very vintage looking album cover. And I feel that it's really, really cool to pay tribute to my roots and the artists that took big risks, big creative risks, in different, eras of their career. And I'm just in a spot right now where I wanted to take a big risk and I wanted to put out more material than maybe any other country artist has ever done in terms of this amount of music in one album. Or one album cycle. So I'm very, very proud of each distinct direction on the Compass Project.
So that's what I want to get into quickly is South is out now. And this is classic BK is what I like to call this one.
Love it.
Mark BK. Pretty much what we would expect from Brett Kissel. 10 years later, you've got a boy band on there, 98 Degrees, huge fan. Watch it. Cried the first time I heard it. I'm not even kidding you. It is something special, Brett. I know that you know that. So East is next. Why don't you tell us about that?
So the East record is a real tip of my hat to the vibes that I get, on the water and spending so much time on the East Coast as well as the West Coast. But my love for Eastern Canada is very, very strong. And so I remember standing at Peggy's Cove and I was looking out at the oceans and I was smelling what I was smelling and I was looking at what I was looking. I was hearing what I was hearing. And I looked at one of my best friends, Kevin Bushy, who's also my tour manager. And I said, I wish I could make an album that would just capture this, exactly what I'm experiencing right now. And he reminded me of all of these songs that I've written over the years that no one's ever heard. And all of these songs that I've always wanted to record, like a song called I'm Going Nowhere, because nowhere is where I want to be. And so all of these songs actually fit, and a light bulb went off in my head saying the East album really is going to be singer-songwriters, and a tip of my hat to the amazing singer-songwriters from the East Coast as well, who can craft a message and a story in a song better than anybody else. So that's the East record that'll come out late in March. And then the Western album is, of course, the West album. And that is like Coulter Wall meets Cor Blund meets Ian Tyson meets every John Dutton adventure on Yellowstone. This is oil and cattle and all of the great traditions of the West that I grew up in and grew up living. So I'm very, very proud of those directions.
Excellent. And so North, which is again, you're 32, am I right? Am I getting this
Yes.
right? Or am I aging you?
No, 32, yeah.
10 years, you're gonna have a greatest hits album.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Yes. Yes, it is. It is wild because it started with a song. That's the most wild thing about it is your first single was it started with a song, and now 10 years later, you're gonna have a greatest hits album. And these are live versions of some of your hit songs, correct?
That's right. So over the years, we've recorded every show that I've ever done, because I felt that someday, some way, somehow, I wanted to do a live album, but I didn't want to record just one particular show and then release that. I may do that later in my career, but I wanted to pick the best versions of these live versions and these songs, these hits, and honor the great venues and the great cities that I've played in. So, for example, like I remember vividly playing in the Chrysler Theater many times in Windsor. I remember playing in London, Ontario many times. I remember doing an anthem at the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. And there's a lot of these great things that all come in to play for that particular record. So Drink About Me is live, I believe, at the Drive-In in Toronto during the COVID era. She Drives Me Crazy is live. The very first time I ever played it at the Calgary Stampede. Airwaves is live from Park Jam in London, Ontario. 321 is live from George Street Festival in Newfoundland last summer. So some of the best versions of these hits is now in the North record that'll come out in September.
Wow. Yeah, this is it's an enormous endeavor. You should be super proud of it. Never Have I Ever is out now. Tell me just a little bit quickly about this catchy little tune. It's so catchy.
Well, it's pretty damn catchy, ain't it?
Yes, I'm singing it now in my head.
Well, I'm excited to play that live and to see if it translates live the same way that it did in the studio, because I'm not sure if you can tell when you're listening to it, but I had a smile on my face the entire time. And I believe something like a smile will evoke an emotion that actually can come through on record. And it actually started when we were writing the song. It is so catchy. It is so lively. It is so fun, because all of us as songwriters, when we got together, we talked about the good old days and how exciting it was to reminisce about the fun that we had when we were burning the candle at both ends, when we were partying hard until the sun came up, and realizing that the drinking games like Sociables and Never Have I Ever, even Spin the Bottle, when you're in your late teens and stuff like that. I loved all that, and I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. So as a songwriter, of course, I had to put my thoughts down on paper and record a song about this. I just didn't realize it was going to be as fun as it turned out to be.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I can't wait for all of the singles that you'll release with all of these 4 albums, or now 3. Thank you for giving us a 365 view of your life as a husband, father. You do it anyways on social media, but like, this is just you in music form, like you said, pieces of your heart. We thank you very much for being authentic. So I thought before you go, Brett, like, of course we could play Never Have I Ever, but I'm like, everyone's going to do that with you. So I'm going to do, it's actually a challenge. Are you ready for a challenge?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. This could go south. You're so creative. This is awesome. I can't wait.
Canva, man. Wait. Okay. So I don't know. You may hate this, but we're going to see. So
I don't hate anything. Don't worry.
You may. But maybe not. This is going to be fun. And again, because we're going to wrap things up here. So on New Year's Eve, I caught this little clip on Instagram or TikTok or something of you singing some Canadian royalty, some One Week by the Bare Naked Ladies.
Yes.
And you didn't screw up one single word. So I thought, let's see how far you can get. I'm going to give you the first line, and you don't even need to sing it. You can just go rattle it off the top of your head. But okay. I want to see how far this is called, because if you don't do it, Brett, say it.
This could go south. Absolutely.
If you don't get it, if you don't get all the lyrics. Okay, so I'll just put these up.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Chickadee China, the Chinese chicken. You have a drumstick and your brain stops ticking. Watching X-Files with the lights on. I'm Delamain's on. Oh, the smoke man's in this one. Like, here's some food, I'm getting frantic. Like, sting of tantric. Like, stick is guaranteed to satisfy. Like, Kurosawa, I make bad films. I don't make films. But if I did that, I have a samurai. Gonna get a set of better clubs gonna find gonna get a set of better clubs gonna find a time counting up so that my arms are always flying off the backswing. Gonna get into a Sailor Moon because that cartoon has got the boom man in me big to make it did the wrong thing. I can't help it if I think you're funny when you're mad. Trying hard not to smile, though I feel bad. I'm the kind of guy who laughs at a funeral. Can't understand what I mean. Well, he soon will. I have a tendency to wear my mind on my sleeve. I have a history of taking off my shirt. It's been 1 week. So it went south there for a little bit. It's because I haven't had any liquid courage yet. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, but probably a lot of coffee, which is why it was extra fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Oh God. I like to have fun when you're on the show. Love it, Brett. Honestly, we so appreciate you. God, if you can come to Windsor, we're waiting for you. The studio door is always open anytime that you want to make yourself available for us. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank
Huge,
you.
huge, enormous endeavor. Like this is, I mean, Morgan Wallen's got nothing on you. Oh, 36 songs. How about 42 or whatever you just said? A lot of songs coming out.
Well, it's going to be very, very special to see what everybody thinks and to hear what everybody thinks. Social media is such a great tool for people to obviously reach out. And the amount of love I've gotten from songs that I would have never thought would resonate the way that they have in the South album make me so excited for everybody to hear these other 3 albums, because if you're excited about what you're hearing now, you just wait until I really pull the curtain back and show the world what I'm made of. I'm very, very proud of these records.
No one has done it. I swear, it's just new. It's raw. It's, stuff that we can relate to. Anyways, you have always remained humble and grateful, and cheers to another 10 plus years for you, Brett. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Morgan. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Okay. And you say hi to your family and the whole Windsor's Country family to me too. Okay.
We will.